Another year of disappointment. My father sighed, not even trying to lower his voice as he spoke to my stepmother Helen at their premium table. She could have been running Harrison Global by now, instead of whatever entry-level job she's calling a career. The irony of his statement would become apparent in exactly 47 minutes when the Wall Street Journal broke the story of Sterling Enterprises' hostile takeover of Harrison Global, a takeover orchestrated by the very daughter he'd written off as a failure. "Still pushing papers at that consulting firm, Emma?" My brother James called out from his seat beside our father, his CFO title at Harrison Global prominently displayed on his platinum name tag. "What was it, junior analyst?" My phone buzzed discreetly. Final acquisition document signed. Harrison Global ownership transfer complete. Press release scheduled for 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. "Something like that," I replied quietly, maintaining the careful facade I'd crafted over 7 years while building my hidden empire. The consulting firm was actually one of Sterling Enterprises' many shell companies, used to gather intelligence on acquisition targets, including Harrison Global. "Emma's always been more suited to simpler roles," Helen pronounced, her diamond necklace catching the light in the grand ballroom of the Ritz-Carlton. "Not everyone has the Harrison business acumen." I suppressed a smile, thinking of the morning's board meeting where I'd finalized the $8.2 billion takeover of Harrison Global. My business acumen had built Sterling Enterprises into one of the world's most powerful corporate raiders, all hidden behind layers of holding companies and offshore entities. "Remember when she thought she could handle merger strategy?" James laughed, swirling his 25-year-old scotch. "Dad made the right call there. She couldn't even understand basic market valuations. Those basic market valuations had helped me identify every weakness in Harrison Global's corporate structure, information I'd used to systematically acquire their subsidiaries until I controlled enough shares for a takeover." "How's that shared cubicle working out?" my stepsister Rachel inquired with false sweetness. "Still hot desking with the interns?" The shared cubicle was another carefully maintained fiction, just like my modest career and struggling professional life. My real office occupied the top floor of a Manhattan skyscraper, though they still thought I worked in an open-plan basement. "It's fine," I said mildly, checking another alert. "Stock certificates transferred. Board resignations prepared. New management structure ready for implementation." "You really should let James help you with career planning," Helen persisted. "Even a junior executive position would be better than whatever it is you're doing." James nodded sagely, unaware that Sterling Enterprises controlled more corporate assets than Harrison Global had ever managed. "Start with something basic. Maybe accounts payable?" My phone lit up again. Global markets preparing for ownership announcement. Significant stock price movement expected at opening. "I'll think about it," I replied softly, watching the family that had branded me a disappointment hold court at what would be their last corporate gathering. The same family that would soon learn that their failure daughter owned not just their company, but their entire professional future. "Did you at least finish that online business course?" James asked, drawing snickers from his executive friends. "The one with the cartoon graphics?" The online course story was part of my carefully constructed image. While they laughed at my supposed educational struggles, I was orchestrating one of the largest corporate takeovers in business history. "Emma just needs to accept her limitations," Helen added, patting my hand with rehearsed sympathy. "We can't all be corporate leaders like James." My phone vibrated. CNBC exclusive secured. Corporate takeover reveal set for prime time. I thought about the empire I'd built while they assumed I was processing expense reports. The vast network of companies all operating under different names, all leading back to Sterling Enterprises, and to me. "That consulting firm is really more your speed," James smirked, checking his Rolex. "Keeps you grounded in reality, doesn't it?" If he only knew that I own not just his company, but most of their major clients and suppliers. The businesses they desperately tried to partner with, the contracts they fought to secure, all quietly controlled by my various holding companies. "Takeover announcement prepared," my chief strategy officer texted. "All executive terminations ready for immediate execution." I looked around the opulent ballroom, at James boasting about his latest strategic initiative, at Rachel flaunting her director title, at my father basking in the success of his real business heir. In less than an hour, They would learn that the daughter they dismissed as a disappointment actually owned their entire professional world, and was about to dismantle it. "Proceed as planned," I texted back, settling in to watch the carefully constructed world of the Harrison family crumble from my perfect vantage point at the budget table. At precisely 9 p.m., the first tremor of change rippled through the ballroom as phones began lighting up with breaking news alerts. The Wall Street Journal's headline flashed across hundreds of screens simultaneously: Sterling Enterprises acquires Harrison Global in $8.2 billion hostile takeover. James choked on his scotch, his Rolex catching the light as his hand trembled. This can't be right," he sputtered, frantically refreshing his phone. "Sterling Enterprises? They're corporate raiders. Vultures." My executive assistant Alexandra materialized beside me, carrying a sleek titanium briefcase. "Miss Sterling, the transition documents are ready. Shall we begin the executive notifications?" "Let's give them a moment," I replied, watching my father's face drain of color as he read the article detailing his company's new ownership. "How many termination packages are we delivering tonight?" 37 senior executives, Alexandra confirmed, including Mr. Harrison, James Harrison, and Rachel Harrison. Their access to corporate systems will be revoked at 9:15 p.m. The ballroom's massive screens meant for displaying birthday tributes now showed CNBC's breaking coverage. Mystery show revealed. Emma Harrison steps out as Sterling Enterprises founder. But you work in consulting," Rachel whispered, her director nameplate suddenly looking very temporary. "You share a cubicle." Sterling Enterprises Consulting was indeed a consulting firm, I confirmed as Alexandra distributed detailed takeover documents to the stunned family gathering. "We consulted on which companies to acquire, which executives to remove, and which empires to reorganize." James was now frantically trying to access the corporate servers from his phone, only to find his credentials already deactivated. The same credentials that had given him access to the CFO position I'd been too inexperienced to handle. "The merger strategy position," my father said weakly, remembering the job he'd denied me. "When you said you wanted to learn." "Was market research," I nodded. "Every time you dismissed my ideas, I was identifying another acquisition target. Those basic concepts I couldn't understand? Each one became another piece of Sterling Enterprises' takeover strategy." My phone buzzed continuously with urgent messages from business networks, financial reporters, and panicked Harrison Global executives suddenly realizing their new boss was the woman they'd mocked over birthday cake. "Your online business course," Helen said faintly, still staring at the CNBC coverage. "When James recommended, was actually developed by my team," I confirmed. "We use it to identify vulnerable companies. Your cartoon graphics helped us map Harrison Global's weaknesses." Alexandra continued distributing documents, comprehensive reports detailing Sterling Enterprises holdings, including dozens of companies Harrison Global had tried and failed to partner with over the years. "Starting tomorrow," I announced to the stunned room, "Sterling Enterprises begins its complete restructuring of Harrison Global. We're implementing all the strategic initiatives that were rejected as too ambitious when I proposed them." My executive team circulated through the ballroom, delivering termination notices to senior management while their access to corporate systems timed out one by one. "The shared cubicle," Rachel remembered suddenly. "When you said you couldn't afford an office." "Was a convenient observation post," I replied. "While you were mocking my workspace, I was studying every detail of Harrison Global's operations. Amazing what people reveal when they think they're talking to a junior analyst." The screens now showed Sterling Enterprises' true reach. Technology companies, manufacturing giants, financial institutions, all connected through a complex web of subsidiaries and partnerships. "Your career planning sessions," I said to James as his corporate credit cards were deactivated, "might need revision. Sterling Enterprises has very different standards for executive positions. We're especially interested in leaders who don't mock their colleagues' cubicles." The next morning's business press would call it the most spectacular corporate takeover in recent history. But it was more than that. It was proof that true business acumen doesn't come from inherited titles or corner offices. It comes from understanding how to build something meaningful while others underestimate you. "Alexandra," I called out as we prepared for an emergency board meeting, Please ensure everyone receives Sterling Enterprises' new corporate handbook, especially the chapter about judging colleagues by their workspace size. Because sometimes the greatest success isn't about maintaining family dynasties, it's about quietly building something revolutionary while they're too busy mocking your cubicle. Oh, and Helen? I turned back one final time. That simple role you thought I was suited for? It just got more complicated. I'm thinking of making it the new CEO position. By midnight, the corporate landscape had shifted seismically. Bloomberg's headline captured it perfectly. Sterling Enterprises reveal shocks business world. Disappointing, daughter built $50 billion empire in secret. I sat in the executive boardroom, no longer hiding my true position, watching the chaos unfold through our corporate security feeds. James was still in his former office, now stripped of access to most systems, frantically trying to contact business associates who already reported to me. Miss Sterling, Alexandra announced, the global management call is scheduled for 8 a.m. Would you like to address Harrison Global's international offices personally? Of course, I replied, watching my father pace in his now former CEO's suite, an office that would be converted into an innovation center by next week. Have the new organizational charts been distributed? Yes, she confirmed. Your brother seems particularly interested in his new position. The security feed showed James staring at his updated corporate profile. Junior Analyst, Accounts Payable Department. Poetic, isn't it? I smiled. He always said I should start in accounts payable. Now he can show me how it's done. My phone buzzed continuously with messages from family members and their increasingly desperate business contacts. James, this is corporate suicide. You can't run a global company. Rachel, the board will never accept this. Helen, your father built this company from nothing. The board was replaced an hour ago, I informed Alexandra, along with every other executive who thought women couldn't handle merger strategy. Amazing how quickly corporate hierarchies crumble when ownership changes hands. The security feeds showed my father attempting to reach his high-level contacts, other CEOs, board members, industry leaders. But Sterling Enterprises had spent years building relationships with everyone who mattered, all while they thought I was struggling with basic market valuations. Your sister's executive assistant is clearing out her office, Alexandra reported. Apparently, she's having trouble accepting her new role in customer service. I imagine she is, I replied. Sterling Enterprises believes in hands-on experience. And our customer service department needs people who understand humility. On the screens, I could see Rachel's growing panic as she realized every prestigious company she might flee to was already owned by her disappointing sister. The same sister they'd mocked for taking online business courses. The restructuring plans are ready for review, Alexandra said, pulling up detailed presentations. Would you like them to see how their departments will be transformed? Send everything, I nodded. Let them see exactly what happens to a company when it falls into the hands of someone they thought couldn't understand basic strategy. The plans showed dramatic transformations. James's finance department becoming a training ground for young female executives, Rachel's marketing division converting to a corporate responsibility unit, my father's executive suite transforming into a mentorship center for overlooked talent. Your father's trying to access the acquisition records, Alexandra reported. Should we let him see how long you've been planning this? Show him the complete timeline, I decided. Let him understand that while they were mocking my simple job, I was quietly buying everything they valued. The timeline revealed years of strategic moves, each acquisition carefully hidden behind shell companies and holding corporations. Every time they'd bragged about a business deal, they'd unknowingly highlighted another target for Sterling Enterprises. Miss Sterling, Alexandra interrupted, the Financial Times is requesting comment on your corporate vision. They're particularly interested in your plans for workplace culture reform. Tell them Sterling Enterprises believes in recognizing talent regardless of gender or family connections, I replied, watching James's face as he realized his junior analyst sister now controlled his entire professional future. Sometimes the best way to run a company isn't by maintaining old hierarchies, it's by breaking them. My phone lit up with another round of desperate messages. James, you can't demote your own brother. Rachel, customer service? I'm a director. Helen, think about your father's legacy. No, I said quietly, surveying the empire I'd built while they underestimated me. Dad built a company. I built something much bigger. I built change. The security feeds showed the growing chaos as reality set in. Their executive access revoked, their corporate cards deactivated, their carefully constructed world crumbling under the weight of their own prejudices. Should we begin phase 2? Alexandra asked, referring to our comprehensive corporate transformation plan. The new management teams are ready to take over. Proceed, I nodded. Let's show the business world what happens when leadership is based on merit instead of gender. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just taking over a company, it's transforming it into something that actually matters. Oh, and Alexandra? I added, watching my family's increasingly frantic attempts to maintain their crumbling status. Make sure they receive the complete diversity and inclusion policy. Especially the part about judging colleagues by their capabilities rather than their gender. The next wave of headlines would call it the most dramatic corporate transformation in business history. But it was more than that. It was proof that true leadership isn't about inherited titles. It's about earned respect. One last thing, I said as Alexandra prepared to implement the final phase of our plan. Make sure they understand that my entry-level position wasn't just a job. It was reconnaissance. And I saw everything they never thought I could achieve. Because sometimes success isn't about having the biggest office. It's about quietly building an empire while they're too busy mocking your cubicle. And I owned it all, right down to the accounts payable department they thought was my destiny. Time to start the global management call. I smiled, heading to the CEO's office, my office. Oh, and James? Don't be late for your accounts payable training tomorrow. I hear the supervisor is quite strict about punctuality.